Rector Drath is a fantastic epic champion from the Knight Revenant faction that's going to handle all of your healer and reviver needs in Raid Shadow Legends. Rector Drath is so valuable as a champion because of the many skills that she can bring, which include decreasing the enemy's attack, reviving your champions if they go down, increasing your resistance on her passive and her aura, and survivability from your A2. So let's go over those skills in a little bit more detail here. Her A1 has a 35% chance of placing a decrease attack debuff, which does actually book up to a 50% chance. Her A2 heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP, which is important. You want those heals to be going on the healer's HP, of course. After healing, she places a perfect veil buff for 2 turns on allies with full HP, or she places a 15% continuous heal buff for 1 turn instead on all allies with less than 100% HP. And her A3 revives a single ally with 60% HP and fills their turn meter by 60%. She also places a perfect veil buff on them for 3 turns. And her Master of Ghosts passive is whenever an ally under a veil or perfect veil buff gets a turn, she heals them by 10% of their max HP, and she's also going to increase the resistance of allies under veil or perfect veil buffs by 50. She'll only increase the resistance once per ally if there are multiple Rectors on the team, of course. And lastly, but not leastly, her aura is increasing ally resistance in Doom Tower battles by 55. Rector Drath comes in with a strong base HP, a very good base defense, and an absolutely insane base speed of 109, which is only 1 speed right behind Arbiter. Because of this, my stat priority on Rector Drath goes HP, resistance, speed, defense, and then finally accuracy, only if you're not going to lose other stats to do it. My particular Rector is of course built out in high resistance to help me progress through the Doom Tower. She's absolutely phenomenal for some stages there, which we will cover later in the where to use section. By now you're probably wondering, well, if I have Rector Drath, who should I use her with? I'm glad you asked. I have the answer for you. She is great with champions like Ninja due to his self-applied perfect veil on his A2, meaning she's going to be able to help keep him topped up during battle. She is great with provoked champions, specifically when it comes to crowd control, since her A2 ensures that they are continually healed, but not veiled if they've already taken damage, meaning that your tank is going to stay as your tank. Examples of champions that she pairs great with are Vogoth, Drexthar, Molly Tankard, Rockbreaker, Taragi, and Vizix the Unbowed, which is a free legendary login champion. Of course, you've also probably guessed by now, Rector Drath is going to be great with heavy resistance teams, as building Rector Drath without resistance feels much the same as believing that the earth is flat. It's just wrong. So build her with resistance and she'll pair well with teams that need resistance or to help you meet a resistance threshold, since with her passive and her aura she'll help increase your resistance by an additional 105 in any Doom Tower wave. Rector Drath is definitely a champion that has plenty of different use cases, so you can feel free to throw her wherever she's needed, but I have 4 notable areas I think you'll get the most use out of her. The first one of them, of course, being Doom Tower. She's great for any boss that requires resistance, notably Baumel and the Scarab King are where you're going to get the most use out of her. She's also great in the arena for Go Second or off Affinity teams, especially tank teams that benefit from any sort of veil or perfect veil, as well as teams that could use another reviver. In Faction War, she is going to be absolutely crucial to completing the Knight Revenant Faction Wars, since she is actually the only non-conditional reviver in the Knight Revenant right now, which is absolutely insane. In dungeons, she's usable almost in every single dungeon that currently exists in the game right now, and she's only getting stronger, especially with the release of the new gear ascension. She is absolutely fantastic for that dungeon. She's also fantastic for Iron Twins, I think they're called. I can't remember off the top of my head. And even on weak affinity runs, she is just so incredibly tanky that she does not have any issues lasting longer than her competition. Unlike me. This is going to be a very quick little blurb about the affinity of this particular champion. She is, of course, a force epic. I almost said void. I'm not sure why. But given that she is force, she is the perfect counter to any sort of magic champion, which in Raid Shadow Legends, predominant numbers of nukers as well as debuffers are going to be from the magic affinity, meaning the chances of her resisting are increased, her chance of taking less damage is increased, and overall her chance of even being weak hit is increased. Not to mention she gains some damage multipliers herself, considering that she's going to be getting some strong hits in there. So this is a fantastic champion if you're going to be going against any sort of magic teams whatsoever. This is going to be our last category when discussing Rector Drath, which is going to be how is her late game viability. In my opinion, this champion is incredibly viable in the late game due to her use cases, her affinity, and most importantly, her utility, not to mention how I said earlier that she is actually the only non-conditional reviver in the Knight Revenant faction right now. You're going to be getting use out of her in the Doom Tower, in Faction Wars, basically everywhere in the game, and this champion is an absolutely positive choice to invest in. So if you have any sort of books, if you have any chickens, and you're kind of on the fence about if you should invest them in her, I would say get off the fence, get building her, and enjoy her.